Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this month's Google Hangout here at Business Training Made Simple. This month we are going to be talking about Pinterest and how you can be using that strategically for your business. I'm joined by Michelle, as always. Hi, Michelle.
Hello, hi.
Michelle's been a trainer with us from the beginning of Business Training Made Simple, one of our social media trainers. She's also a published author from the Business of Being Social. And Michelle, you're working on a new book as well, aren't you, at the moment?
We are, yes. A new book called Be Smart, Be Safe, Be Social, which is more targeted to teachers and parents and children around the wonderful things you can do with social and also how to safeguard in social.
And when can we expect that coming out?
Well, it's got to be written by June, so we've got to get our writing hats on. And yes, it probably will be out in about September.
Keep your eyes peeled. Okay, so before we get started today, just a few things for those of you who are new and haven't joined us. So you can ask any questions at all throughout. You can either tweet us at GetTrainedUK, or there'll be a chat option on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen also, where you can post questions through there. Okay, so we'll now get started. Just transfer over to the slides. We'll see you over there. Okay, Michelle, over to you.
Great. So today we're going to be talking about Pinterest for business, and I'll just run through what we're going to be covering in this hangout today. So we'll have a quick look at what is Pinterest. We'll look at Pinterest boards. These are the boards that we pin our items to. Pin descriptions and the importance of how to create your pin and then make sure that you've got a relevant description for it. Things to pin, what to pin, why would you pin, all of those elements we'll hopefully uncover. Some widgets to help pinning be as seamless as possible. Thinking about engagement always on social and what we can be doing to engage using the pins. We'll look at the Pinterest analysis tools that you get access to, and then we'll also just have a quick look at some boards for some inspiration. Okay, so let's get started. Quick Pinterest 101. What is Pinterest? Well, Pinterest themselves, when they showcase, when they talk about what Pinterest is, they say this is a way that you can share the things that you find beautiful, and everyday things that you find beautiful. And really, the simple kind of way of explaining Pinterest is that if you are browsing the net, or indeed you've got stuff, somebody sent you an article, or you're reading a blog post or anything via your smartphone as well, you have the opportunity to save it, to capture that article or that image, and then save it to your boards. So I'm sure we've all been in the situation before where we've seen a beautiful article or a fabulous pair of shoes or the handbag that of your dreams, and you've just thought, oh, I love that, but you've actually got no way of capturing it, and so you can pin it and add it to your board of my favorite things, or shoes I'm looking for, or kitchens for my new house, or whatever it is. It's a way that people can quickly curate the content that they come across on their mobiles or on their desktops when they're searching, and just share it and save it to a place where they can access it later. So pin boards are really kind of like your mood boards. They're closer to that. It's almost as if when you go to refurbish a house and you're thinking about, or you're buying a new house, you think, well, I want my bathroom to look like this, or I want my sitting room to look like this, or my kitchen to look like this. You might actually start gathering up some articles from magazines, chopping them up, putting them onto boards to kind of grow some kind of mood board about the theme. And of course, Pinterest boards are really like virtual boards. They allow you to do the same things with content, and then not only can you put that content onto your boards, but it enables you to pin that content onto your boards, but it also means that your boards can be private or public. And most Pinterest boards are public, which means that other people can see the things that you are pinning, the items that you are pinning, and they can like it or they can share it. So of course, just as with many other social networks, it allows you to take a piece of content, put it somewhere, and then allow others to actually share and engage with it, and indeed amplify it into new audiences. So that's where Pinterest has been widely reported as being really useful for traffic driving, because whatever gets shared, however that person interacts with that content, when they click on it to see you know this pin that's just been shared, and they look at this pin, it actually goes back to the source of who posted that. So it could either go back to the board that you've posted it to, or indeed the source. And the source might have been, if you're on IKEA, for example, and you see a wonderful lamp and you've pinned that to your kitchen board, you go on to, if somebody then looks at your kitchen board, when they click that lamp and they think, oh, that's a beautiful lampshade, that would go well in my kitchen as well, it takes them off to the IKEA website where they can actually see that lamp. So you can see how it works from a traffic driving perspective. People are sharing images out, and then it is pushing traffic back to the source. There's also things that you need to think about with that, which we'll come on to later, about descriptions and making sure you add links to your website when you're creating your content. It's also really useful for brands with lots of visual content and products to showcase them in a very visual way. Often, as I say, the IKEA Pinterest account is a really interesting Pinterest account to have a look at, because the way they work things is very clever. They pretty much break down if you think about an IKEA catalogue and you open one of their pages in a catalogue and it shows a room, when you go onto their Pinterest boards, you might see a photograph of that room, and then when you click on that room's board, it actually opens out so that every single article in that room is shown as its own individual pin, taking you back to the source as to where you can buy that online. So it's a really clever way of showcasing what it is that you do in a very visual way, and then individually focusing it down to each product, back to the source where people can actually access it. So here is the IKEA site, and you can see that they've got lots and lots of boards. This is just a selection because we're limited to the screen, but this scrolls down. You've got Bring the Family Together boards, soft toy boards, small space living boards, revitalize, refresh boards, the bracket collection, so they've got a product board just around, you know, one particular product range, Pancake Day essentials, on the move. There's many more when you have a look as to the types of things that they have pinned, and as I say, it's a really interesting case study to just, or exercise, just to go and have a look at the types of things that they are doing and how they are driving people back. Some stats. So because it's highly visual, Pinterest is widely reported as the favorite, or one of the favorite social networks used by women. So it's favored by women, and a third of US women use Pinterest. In the UK, that statistic plays out as well. 40% of women who use the platform are aged between 25 to 45, so you've got an audience that are quite serious about purchasing, you know, and can monetize. Only 8% of US men use the platform, and I think this is changing, and it is shifting the balance between who is using the platform. But it is a very visual platform, and women tend to use it more to be saving things around the things that they like. Weddings, if somebody's planning a wedding, it's a really useful resource to kind of showcase all the different elements that you might want to be thinking about, from the shoes you're going to wear, to wedding dresses, to veils, to tiaras, to gifts, to ties, to colours, to wedding gifts, to favours, to flowers, to all sorts of different criteria that you might be thinking about, and you can create lots of boards around key things that you're thinking about, and then just put onto those boards, pin to the boards, the actual content that resonates for you. And so Pinterest of course, drives more traffic, therefore, to publishers than Twitter, LinkedIn, Reddit, and Google Plus combined. It's a very powerful traffic driving tool, because you've got so much out there that is very visual. People, when they click to see, where it is that what they want to get back to, they are driven back to your source, which is the web. So about boards, as I said, boards are kind of like mood boards, and what we suggest is that you keep your boards and your board names really quite specific. So here, for example, you can see that we've got YouTube tips on content, that could be tips on content marketing, tips on content creation. You could even go more granular than we've suggested here. So rather than having one board called social media tips, have as many boards as possible so that you can actually be really quite specific. And particularly this works in the IKEA example, for example, where you have products and services or products specifically to showcase. Be as granular as possible. Fill your boards. So you can see here that you've got the opportunity to add quite a number of pins to each board. I think it's up to 50 pins to each board. And if your board looks empty, you can see over on the right hand side there, you've got an empty board. It's not terribly engaging. Whereas if we've got a full board on our Facebook tips and training, people can actually click through to each one of those pins, and each pin is another channel through to your website, where they can find more things about it. So keep them engaging, keep your pins, your boards full of pins. One useful tip is to create a top pins board. So you can create your top pins board and you can push the other pins that lots of people are sharing, so you can see what people like from your Pinterest account, and you can create this top pins board, and then you can actually encourage others to go in and see these pins as well. So top pins is really quite a useful area to have on your boards, something to think about, a quick way for people to see what's being the most popular content that people are sharing around your board. Almost like, when you're on a website from an e-commerce perspective, people that bought this also liked. So, your top pins can work like that. Choose the right cover image for your board as well. So make sure that you entice your users by using very eye-catching cover imagery. So you can see here we've got some really nice images, and again, going back to Pinterest, it's a very visual tool. And of course here what we're talking about is not products. What we're sharing are tips and guides and information about services. So this just goes to show, it's a perfect example that it's not just all about product. Anything can be made visual, and these visuals are largely coming from the blogs that we've created. So those images might be on the blogs, or images that we've created around as part of our content strategy. So think about the content that you've got and the images that you've got. It doesn't always have to be product driven. Lots of people with products and interior designers and creative kind of industries really favor Pinterest because naturally they have visual content. But all content should be, the visual side of it, the images that you use need to be considered. So entice those users by making sure that you are thinking about your imagery, and that isn't just about products. Think about creating a group board. So a group board is a board where you and others that you invite can add pins to. So there might be lots of people that you want to encourage to kind of be part of this community board almost. So for example, Business Training Made Simple has created a board whereby people that come on their training courses can be encouraged to share content onto that board, and it might be that people are sharing visual content. They might be sharing blog posts that have a visual image within it. It can be absolutely anything, and this is like if you think about LinkedIn, you can have LinkedIn groups, you can have groups on Facebook. Well, you can also have groups on Pinterest, which is a kind of community board that you and others that you invite can add pins to. So it might be that your organization is going through an office refurb and you want to get all of the team involved in sharing their ideas as to what they might like for the new office. And a Pinterest group board would be a perfect place for people to share those ideas. So you can see how it might play out. It might be that as a business you are thinking about redoing your website, and you might reach out to a number of your team and say, I want you to come back to me with some ideas for the website, what we think we could be doing, any examples of great designs that you've seen. And rather than everybody just share a whole load of links with one another, you can actually use your Pinterest group board to share and showcase ideas around that and see what develops. So not only is it useful for actually driving traffic and sharing out, but it can also be a useful resource internally for gathering relevant and purposeful information. So one of the things that you need to think about when you are creating one of your pins or pinning something is that the description that you give. So here you can see highlighted in the red oval there is business training made simple, lunch with a view. We love this view from the top floor of our training venue. Today it's our strategy course, okay? And of course this will link then through to the business training made simple social media strategy course page on the website. So the source, it always links back through to the source. So provide some context around your description, perhaps why you like the image, what idea does it represent, what tips you have to go along with it, any additional information that are related to the image. And make sure that you are linking it back to your website. So you can add live links to any of the captions. You just simply copy and paste the website link, the URL, into the text box. And you can see here we've got, do you know your audience and fan base on social media? Your post should be targeted, learn more. So it's, again, taking you back to, it could be your a landing page on your website, it could be a blog post, it can be anywhere you want to direct people to. So adding a link to the pin's description encourages people to click directly through to your website and to a specific place.
Michelle, I'm just going to interrupt you because I've got a relevant question come in. Someone was asking, is it suitable to put your URL in the description where if the image didn't come from your website? If you're repinning something, yeah, that someone else has pinned, can you then edit the description and put your URL in?
Well, we were talking about this beforehand about Pinterest, and it's interesting because I was saying, the thing is, I could take a really fantastic image from, let's say, the BBC website and snip it and upload it to my own pin board and then share it. And it's like anything, really. You have to cite back to where you got it from. That's good practice, and that's what we advocate. So that you would say, I got this from the BBC website. This is an interesting take on an article we ran a couple of weeks ago, and you might then link to the article. But I think just trying to plagiarize it, or it's almost like bash tagging, mash tagging, running on the back of somebody's hashtag that is totally irrelevant, and just because it's a really great thing. So it's frowned upon, really. So always do the right thing. Always think about citing the source where you got it from is our recommendation. But it's a good question. We were talking about that earlier.
Okay.
Include a call to action. So research has shown that including a call to action, and by call to action we mean giving the audience, giving the person who is reading this description or web page or whatever it is, I mean that's what, any call to action, giving them an instruction, something that you want them to do. What is it that you want them to do? So is it that you want them to read more ways here? Click here, sign up here, get a free quote here, watch this video, learn more here. There is a call to action there. And when you give people an action, a steer on what you want them to do, they tend to do it. So make sure that you include a call to action in your descriptions where you can as well, to increase the opportunity for engagement. Just in the same way that you share a lot of information on other social networks using keywords. I mean, keywords are still the DNA of your online visibility, because when people are looking for your products and services out there online, they tend to use a certain amount of keywords, of key phrases that, you know, green umbrellas, Maidenhead, that's what they're looking for, and they expect green umbrellas in Maidenhead to kind of be shown to them, you know, where they're going to be able to access them. They don't necessarily go onto the search engines or into any of the social search boxes typing, I am looking for a lovely green umbrella, where can I get a nice green umbrella? You know, they are looking, they're quite specific. And so again, make sure that you are using all keywords in your description where appropriate, as that will obviously increase the chance of your pins being discovered. So, you know, if you are including things like social media training here, as you can see that Business Training Made Simple has, and training and social media as hashtags, you can see that if people are searching in Pinterest or generally on those hashtags, your content can be associated with that. So make sure that you are taking advantage of the keywords and the hashtags as well. What to pin? I mean, this is an interesting piece of research that, you know, without Pinterest we would never have known. So research shows us, and research into Pinterest usage shows us that tall images tend to get pinned more frequently and drive more traffic when compared with short images. And I would say that that is potentially to do with the whole explosion of infographics being around, because infographics have got lots of information within them. They are very information rich, and you can quickly see a lot of information in a very concise way. So it may be less about the size of the image and more to do with what is visually appealing or what the user is getting out of that image. It's often very difficult to get across a message in a very short image, whereas infographics are very information rich. There's a lot going on there for the user to engage with. So if the measure of this research was engagement, that is probably why, because there's just a whole lot more content there. So that is something for you to be mindful of. And I don't know if any of you have ever created infographics for your business around your products. You know, it can be around anything. It can really be about how long you've been in business, what's been happening over the years since you started. It could be favourite products and what people have said about our favourite products. It could be testimonials. It could be absolutely anything. You know, you might have some very interesting research about your demographics or buying behaviours. Absolutely anything. And there are lots of, if you go onto Google and type in tools to create infographics, you can create your own infographics now very, very seamlessly. There are tools around like Visually and Visualize, and they enable you to create very simple, well, really quite complex looking and impressive infographics by literally, you know, just dropping in some numbers and choosing the graphics that you want. So you don't need to be a whiz in graphic design to necessarily create infographics. So if we know they get shared, and we know that, you know, Pinterest is a relevant channel for your audience, then definitely start thinking about generating some infographics. And of course, use a range of content from other social media sites too. As part of any content strategy, you really want to be thinking about the best channel for the job, and that might be multi-channels. So website, visuals like slideshows, presentations, and indeed hangouts like this, they are all really great content to share on Pinterest as well, because highly visual. So you can share all of these things, and you can embed content from other sites such as videos from YouTube and slideshows. So your presentations, if you create a presentation, you put it up onto slideshare.com, you can just embed then those elements back into Pinterest, simply by embedding the code into the description box, and then it will pop. So you can also share your blogs too, and if you are going to share your blogging content, do make sure that your blogs have some form of image in them, otherwise they won't look as visually appealing when you see those pins on your boards. And don't be afraid to repin old content onto other boards if it's relevant as well. For example, we have a blog here at Carvel Creative where there are over 300 blog posts, and that blog has been going for about 5 or 6 years. So a lot of the content, however, is still highly relevant, still great content to this day. And so you'll have content like that too. Or it might be that you want to showcase previous collections or how things used to look. We have a client that started his business 50 years ago, and he's got some fantastic imagery around how his products used to look back in the 70s and 80s, and so that you can use those to build some heritage around what it is that you do as well. So don't be afraid to repin old content onto other boards if it's relevant, as this again will increase the chance of them getting pinned again. And just this morning, it's interesting, I pinned a couple of our old blogs onto the Carvel Creative Pinterest account, and I think we already had about 7 or 8 shares within 30 minutes of doing so. So people are out there looking, picking up on the images, and then boom, being sourced back to the source. So some widgets. I often get asked this question, how do I pin things? How do I pin it? And the simplest way to pin things, I mean, if you are using a smartphone, then you can get the Pinterest app. And literally you can just pin things via your smartphone. If you're on your browser, your desktop, then you have to install a pin it button in your browser, and this allows you then to, it just sits in your browser, and when you are on a web page and you think, oh, I want to pin that, you hit your little pin and up it pops, and you just say which board you then want it to go to. If you haven't got a Pinterest account, if you can simply set up a Pinterest account by going to help.pinterest.com, and you can set up that account. If you've got a personal Pinterest account and you want to convert it to a business account, you can do that too, and you'll find more information about all of those things on Pinterest.com. More widgets as well to help you. So for example, you might want to have as you can see there in the top there, pin it buttons on your blogs. And this here that we're showcasing, where you've got G+ and LinkedIn and Pin It and Tweet, this is a WordPress plugin called Really Simple Share, and you just upload the WordPress plugin, activate it, and then you can choose which social networks you actually want people to be able to share to, and it's really simple. So then when everybody comes to your blog, they can either say, oh yeah, I want to put that onto my Google+, I'm going to share that via LinkedIn, I'm going to pin it, however they want to do things. So that's a really simple way. Down here at the bottom, more widgets at business.pinterest.com, widget builder. This is where you will find a whole load of widgets that will allow you to put pin its next to your product ranges. So you see more and more of this in online e-commerce stores like Topshop, ASOS, where people actually have, browsers actually have the opportunity to just to pin these things to their collections so that they can go back to it at another time. So have a look at the widgets there, because if you have an e-commerce site or you have some content that you want people to be able to pin, you might have an interior design business or a paint business or a wallpaper business or a carpet business or a tile business, anything where people can showcase and you think that they want to be able to save this and maybe come back to it later, then Pinterest is a really great tool for that. And engage. Do remember that Pinterest isn't just about, you know, people creating boards. It's a community. So if people make comments, then don't forget to reply to comments just as you would on any other social media platform. There's nothing worse than people trying to engage with the content that you're putting out there and you're not doing anything. And of course, it's a social network. So like and repin back to people who like and repin your content too. So, you know, try and get that engagement going and that community going in that way. Pinterest has some analytics, just like Facebook has analytics and Twitter has analytics and Google Plus has analytics. Then you can actually look at your Pinterest analytics to track which pins are popular and also learn about, you know, how you need to think about your content going forward. You know, what do people like? And if you, when you go to your account, you can see there that you've got the analytics. If you drop down, it gives you some interesting insights into who's pinning, demographics as much as possible, and how many times things got pinned, so that you can build up what's working and what's not. So it's always worth looking at the analysis to understand what's going and to help you steer how you direct your content going forward. And here again are some inspirational some other things for you to have a look at, some other boards. So we've got Random House. They are a publishing company, and you'll see that they've got the literary imbiber, romancing the reader, somebody recommends. So there's a whole range of different boards there that people can engage with. And when you are following somebody, so if I was to follow Random House, I don't have to follow all their boards. I can follow all, and you can see that little red icon there is saying follow all, or I get the opportunity to follow just what I want to follow. So if all I want to follow is their romancing the reader board, I can. So again, that's another reason why it's important to actually segment down what it is that, you know, your boards, because it allows people to be very targeted in what they actually do want to consume from you, rather than just getting dulled out by everything that you might be sharing that isn't particularly relevant for them. You can hone it down so that they can just follow one particular thing. They can choose. So choice is always a good thing. Ben and Jerry's, of course, they've got their ice cream, they've got their fan photos, so they're using their Pinterest to showcase the user-generated content, you know, show who their fans are. They've also got another one about the Ben and Jerry's graveyard, which is all the flavors they don't serve anymore. There's a whole range of boards to kind of have a look at and get some ideas about how you can be segmenting and thinking about your boards. Sony Electrics, again, Icon has gadgets, you know, the way they've broken it down, pretty colors, Sony products, you know, so people are really quite creative with the way that they are structuring their boards. They're not just doing the day-to-day stuff that you might imagine, saying laptops, phones, you know, they're actually trying to engage with the audience and the demographics that they might be talking to here. And then looking at this one, Pantone color. So again, you've got Pantone color of the year, different color representatives, monthly holidays and events colors. So lots of things for you to think about there, some inspiration. And my advice, as always, is to, if you're not on Pinterest, have a play with it. See what you know, get started with the channel, and maybe just set up some private boards initially. Don't make them public. You can have private boards as well, and you can invite people to see private boards. So maybe start with some private boards, just get used to how it all works and the flow of it, and then when you feel ready and prepared, you know, really start thinking about creating these boards so that they benefit your business. So that's it. Any questions, Sarah?
Great, thank you, Michelle. That was brilliant. We've got a few come in. So one of them, is it worth having more than one Pinterest account for different products and services, or is it okay to incorporate them to one account with multiple boards?
I would say one. I mean, it depends. It depends on how diverse those products and services are, I suppose. But generally, brands and businesses tend to have the one board, but then they might have the one account, sorry, but then they might have hundreds of boards showcasing the different products and services and really breaking it down into very granular. And I suppose the upside of that is that when people come onto the main board, they get to see what else it is that you do, which if you've said, yeah, the main account, they get to see what else is on your boards, which they may not do if you've created lots and lots of different accounts. So in one way, keeping it all centralized, but just making sure your boards are all segmented is probably the more optimized way, particularly if upselling and cross-selling is something that you're concerned about.
Okay, another one here from Elizabeth. What about the difference between a business and personal page? Can you do different things on business pages?
So you can do exactly the same, I believe, on a personal page as you can with a business page. There's nothing that you can do differently.
It's just the setup's a bit different, isn't it, at the beginning?
Yeah, and what tended to happen is a lot of people in the early days, because Pinterest for Business didn't really exist at the beginning, it was just Pinterest, and people were invited to try out Pinterest. And after a period of time, everybody said, oh, well, I really like this, but I want to do this for my business. I don't really, the individual boards are quite useful for me, but I want to be able to showcase. So you can do exactly the same. The private boards, a lot of people keep their personal boards private sometimes, but the business board is obviously you wouldn't necessarily want to keep that private unless there was a board that was a highly confidential board that you were just sharing with 3 or 4 people about plans for taking over the world or something that you might not want anybody else to know about. But generally, you can do the same. You can absolutely do the same on a personal account as you can do with a business account.
And there is an option, because you mentioned there wasn't always business Pinterest. So if you did set up your business on a personal account, you can just transfer that now to a business account. Yeah,
it is. It literally is. There's a button called Revert, and it just switches it across to a business account.
Okay, another one. Do you have to hashtag in order to locate keywords, or will a general description suffice? Do you have to hashtag in order to locate keywords? Oh, so will the keywords only be picked up with a hashtag, or if you just use a keyword in the description anyway, it will be picked up? Yeah,
it'll be picked up. So it's like Twitter, if you use a hashtag, it will automatically align with any other hashtags that are being used around that conversation. But that hashtag will get picked up in a general search for social media, whether with or without putting hashtag social media.
Okay. Another one, how often should you be pinning as a whole?
Well, I mean, it's a really tricky question. This one is a little bit like how long's a piece of string, because if you are a supplier like IKEA, who are getting new product ranges in, seasonal changes, then they're probably pinning all the time. Easter's coming up now, so they'll have some Easter boards, no doubt, that have started to be pinned, and they're pinning regularly. So I suppose, I mean, the way we use it with our clients is that where relevant, every time we do a blog post, we pin it. Every time there is a new product range out of any of our clients that have specific product lines going live, we would pin it. And so it really is quite business dependent. But from a social media, using this to help you generate traffic and awareness for your business, the more you do, the more likely you are to get things shared. I mean, as I said, today we put a blog post out there, we pinned it, it already starts getting shares. Maybe even before, you know, things start happening on Twitter and LinkedIn, you know, it starts to get that traction. So it's very far-reaching, the pins, because it's such a simple, easy thing for people to do, and it's relatively, unless people like it or comment, it's very low visibility as to who's doing what with your content. So it tends to be quite viral, shall we say. So it's a bit, I wouldn't want to say, oh, do it 3 times a day or 5 times a day, because that really may not be relevant for your organization. But definitely think about regularly sharing relevant content into your Pinterest board if you're going to have them.
I think it's also helpful as well to think of, obviously, a lot of the users are in America, so the time difference come into play. They say a lot of pins are pinned more frequently, you know, in the different time zones. So.
Yeah, and I suppose if your audience isn't in America, you know, then you really have to look at the analytics. And again, when I say the analytics, I mean, look at your Pinterest analytics, but look at Google Analytics living behind your website. And if you see that all of the Pinterest traffic that you get is from the US, and that is highly irrelevant for you, then maybe the channel isn't working. So, you know, you wouldn't necessarily want to be expending so much energy by publishing lots and lots of content to something where that audience just isn't relevant. That said, if you get picked up, you know, so an image gets picked up and it gets, you know, in the Herald or something over there, and your image is showcased as the vision of spring, then that, who knows? But I mean, it isn't just a US audience. You know, there's definitely more and more growth in the UK. It's definitely more of a female audience. So if your audience is definitely not female, and you know that for sure, then again you might look at those analytics in the back end of Google Analytics and see those demographics and think, actually, this isn't hitting. But one of the things we always say in social is, don't make assumptions. You know, try it, test it, see what's happening, and if it's not working and it's not getting the traction that you require, either pull back, you know, or indeed if it is, think about things a little bit more tactically then.
Okay, great. Thank you, Michelle. That's all from us for today. So just to let you all know, our next Hangout, same time, same place next month, is LinkedIn and lead generation, which will be on the 1st of May. So for that, you can go onto our website, businesstrainingmadesimple.co.uk, and register your interest there, and we'll keep you up to date on that. Just to let you know also as well, coming soon, hopefully by May time, we'll have our half-day Pinterest and Instagram course live. So that'll be a half-day covering both the platforms, both the visual platforms. So if any of you are interested in that, keep your eyes peeled on our website, and we'll let you all know as well via our newsletter. And upcoming training courses, we've got digital content on the 15th of April, social media for business on the 23rd of April, and Facebook on the 24th of April. And do follow us on Pinterest. We are on there. We're at pinterest.com/gettraineduk. And just to emphasise, to let you all know that we have changed our Twitter handle, so it is now at gettraineduk. And our platforms you can follow us on, we're on LinkedIn, the Made Simple group, Facebook, the Made Simple group, Google Plus, where you'll see all our Hangouts on there, so they automatically get uploaded onto Google Plus and then onto YouTube. So you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and you will get informed every time we upload a Hangout, and also on Pinterest, like I just said. Okay, everyone, thank you very much for listening. Hope you all enjoyed that, and we'll just say a quick goodbye from us before we go. There we are. Bye.
Okay,
have a good day. See you later.